Hello, BAME farm fans. We had some interesting winter weather, but guess what still has to happen? The chickens still need fed. And I figure we might as well enjoy the sparkle of the glaze of ice on the remnants of the garden, especially the cages. It's like diamonds in the sun. Yeah, well, with enough sunshine, the ice will melt off, so better enjoy it quick while we can. How's the hose doing?
What? The hose was running.
Yep, the animals still have to eat. Feed box is at least half full, so we don't have to grind just yet. The chickens are eating about 9 5-gallon buckets of feed a day. And they don't seem to be too fazed by the 2 inches of sleet we got. That just means they stay real close and eat more feed instead of ranging for whatever they can find. Probably not many bugs this time of year. Oh, come on. Sometimes this door does not like to shut well. There's no force stronger than the force that holds 2 buckets together. Time to check on the silo unloader. Ooh, and it's dark in here. That snow and stuff really covers the light source. Ah, yes, the chandelier is still hanging. Silo unloader looks like it's doing pretty good. And hopefully you can see more than just that open rectangle over there. We're only getting silage down once a day because we are very low on cattle. Very low. We're under 20 now. But this is a good way to warm up. Gets their blood flowing. Because I don't have much natural insulation. So usually while I'm forking silage down, Dad can pretty well take care of dumping the wheelbarrows and then feeding the grain on top. I'm coming over to plug in the loader because we're going to need that this afternoon. Got to load that combine engine. See, now I'm going to throw this little tidbit in, which this is before feeding the chickens still. But we'll talk about it probably later. But just take a look at what this is and the ingredients. I got this stuff from a food pantry. I didn't know what to do with it, so they contacted me thinking I could feed it to the animals. And it's just a mix of flours used as filler for sausage making. And it's had an interesting effect, I think this is it, because the changes didn't happen until a couple days after I started feeding this stuff. Yay, frozen water, but not right there. How's breakfast? You like your breakfast? Yep, we top dress grain on top of the silage. It's like salad dressing. As you can see, I test drove this walk yesterday based on the path in front of us. I didn't know how it was gonna go. So this is like the day or 2 days after the storm. I mean, we're out here on 2 inches of ice. You can't tell. I mean, I guess the grass is kind of covered, or the frozen icy grass, and there's maybe over 1 inch of snow on top. It's real fluffy, and then it's ice pellets that I can't break through, and they probably started to freeze together now, but it's great. It creates a nice smooth surface. It's got the pond froze, This is actually a wet, muddy mess right there because it kind of drains into the pond. You can see where there's kind of ruts. It's wet. Being frozen is just wonderful. I like it. It's so much better than when it's mediocre, muddy winter. Oh, good morning, girls. Who's ready to eat? Everybody, apparently. Yeah, the freezing rain can be a little hard on the fence. I mean, it's stiff now, but it does weight it down. And over there, it's sagging real bad. Some of the clips are real short because I'm trying to limit camera exposure to the elements. I have to say this every time I use the camera in the winter because it has very bad battery life in the cold. We're bringing out 9 5-gallon buckets, 6 2.5 gallon jugs of water. It's a real joy keeping them watered in the winter. They sort of have learned how to eat snow, sorta. They pick at it. It's not the same. It uses quite a bit of body heat for them to melt it. So it's not necessarily good for them to eat snow as a water source. And the amount of water they get from it is minimal compared to the energy that they've used to melt it in their beak. Yeah, they don't seem to mind. The sun's out, they're tickled to death. They're ranging a little bit. You can see they still haven't walked close to the trailers. They stayed very close the first day. Very, very close. You can kind of see the extension cord there. There's the charger box. And the fence right here isn't doing too well underneath the weight of the ice. In fact, the charger's not on because with all the ice, look at that sparkle. I mean, and the ice and the snow, it's pretty much grounding out because it's water. It'll carry the current to the ground and short it out. So it won't be doing anything anyways, and to save the charger, I unplugged it. So we just have the cord out here to power the lights. They're getting 5 hours of light extra at night to bring them up close to 14, maybe 15 or so. Oh yeah, that's some frozen feed from yesterday that has snow, ice, and grain. I guess I'll keep them busy. They are hungry. You can see how much the chickens, how much manure they make in just 2 days here on top of the snow. All those little brown spots. They eat, and it passes through them, and they make an egg. Unfortunately, girls are like little 5-pound egg factories. Isn't that the joy of agriculture? Production, 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 but with more elements to make things wild. So, in the cold weather, their waters are rendered useless because the water freezes. And to have heaters out here would be a challenge. That's the joy of free-range chickens, is range, usually not near civilization. And I don't want to run heated waters off a 200+ feet of extension cord. Yeah, how's your breakfast doing there? Don't scratch it all out. Well, so maybe she does scratch it out. But with having so many, there's always a crew ready underneath to clean up what gets scratched out. So it does work. It may look like she's scratching it and wasting it, but there's many who want to eat underneath. And to have, say, all the space that needs so many feeders for 1,000, like, they're plenty over gunned on trailers. I could have like another 250 chickens out here if I had to, but I don't. There's 1,000 between 4 in each trailer. I figure is good for about 300 based on perch space and boxes inside, but they're pretty much for sleeping only. They're not meant for actual living. That's what the outdoors is for, right? Free range, all natural. That's the buzzword right now. So yes, water in the dishes, and then I'll go around and I'll toss some water on their feed. Okay, somebody move. Time for a little water on your cereal. They like that even more for some reason. Got a few icicles, and you can see how I sealed up the eave there to keep them comparatively airtight, I guess. They're doing really well. I've I didn't put skirts on them this year like I usually do because that can be a mess when I gotta move them and they get all muddy and nasty. And maybe that was my challenge to have a real winter, because if I put the skirts on, we'd have an extra mediocre muddy winter. And the skirts get covered in mud and it's just absolutely gross to take off in the spring. But they seem to be faring well. I can't, like, you can't just feel how cold it is out here versus in the trailers. There's about a 10-degree difference, and 10 degrees warmer is 10 degrees warmer. How to overcome frozen hoses. So it's set up to obviously drain back down in the well. The well is there underneath all the snow. That is a very shallow well, only 15-20 foot deep, hand dug, creek stone walls. And then we have a nice slope going down here to drain the hose out, so that way tomorrow morning it shouldn't be frozen because all the water drained out. Ready? Yeah. Oh, it's cold. Sometimes it can be a real challenge starting when it's cold. Because sure, there'll be enough ether to get it to fire, but then it won't stay running. Yeah, I know, the windows are not very visible and probably not very good on the camera. Let's see, we got a couple bales here close. Are we in high range? Well, one high range when we go to back in, because we got to get a running start on this snow. And the big thing of using the tractor, though, we got big tires, and hopefully won't have too much trouble on the ice out here. Plus, for some reason, the skid steer is a wee bit hard starting when it's cold. It's air-cooled gas. Ah, the perfect spike went right in. Pull the lever, tip it up. And we gotta pull forward so we can undo the net. I'm sure everybody's getting jerked around on my head. That's a good height. We gotta be able to reach the top and the bottom. We'll see if it rips being snow covered. What? A pin?
A pin.
For what? You trying to break the ice?
On the clevis, so I can get the gate through.
Oh. Yeah. The universal hammer. Yeah. Okay, good thing this side of the bale was in the sun a little bit. I can see the end inside, but not the end on the outside. Yeah. We'll just start ripping. This is the only time where net wrap is not fun. And I'm sure someone's gonna wonder, oh, I don't just cut it off. Because typically I can find the end and we can just rip it off. But if I just grab a small few strands of the net, it'll rip easy enough. Really enjoying the sun today for this. The fun part will be when we go to get the frozen side off. It's steaming there. Guess the sun's melting the snow and ice off quick. Because if we don't take this off, the cows will eat it and it'll just get everywhere. Is it coming or am I just ripping it?
It is coming.
Yeah, call it at that and keep an eye out if they thaw it out, what comes off. Oh, one hay sickle coming right up. coming to the end of daylight hours. And we need to collect eggs. Typically all summer long in fall and non-freezing times, I collect eggs in the morning, like right after feeding. But right now I gotta collect at night before they freeze, because they will freeze. Sometimes you gotta watch it during the day because the days are still so cold. So who remembers that sausage filler? It says it's just a mix of grains, correct? Just grain flours. Well, I started mixing that in their feed, and all of a sudden egg production is almost near the summertime levels. And well, that is fantastic. They'd had lights for almost 2 months before I started mixing this in. It's been a great addition. I mean, it said it had to be donated to a food pantry, and the food pantry had no use for it. However, if I could figure out how to get my hands on more, or what is so special about a mix of like a 5 different grain flour, that would be fantastic. But for right now, I'm tickled to death with the winter egg production. Hey, thank you for keeping the eggs warm, dear. But I need the eggs. I don't think your fluff butt's big enough to keep all these warm until morning. So this has been a fun, frozen animal caretaking adventure, and we will catch you guys later with more fun farming action.